Jose Mourinho, revival a bit for Roma. Inter, they seem to have caught their second wind, and now we have a title race at the top and a lot to play for in this game. Take me through how this matchup's going to fare out.
Yeah, I'll go first on this. I just want to give a shout out to Inter and Juve, because the midweek they had the semifinals of the Coppa Italia. They're playing against each other in the final. It's the first time that Juve and Inter, who probably the biggest rivalry in all of Italy, are facing each other in the Coppa Italia final since 1965. So I thought that was a pretty cool stat. With regard to this particular game, Inter, as we're seeing the table, they're 2 points behind Milan at the top, but they have a game in hand. Roma has been fantastic. They, under Jose Mourinho, for all the hate that guy gets, and everybody thinks he's washed and he's past it and all that, they haven't lost a game in Serie A since January 9th, and that was the 4-3 loss at home to Juventus when they should have won. They were up 3-1, and then Juve pulled off some incredible, improbable comeback. And prior to that, they lost to AC Milan at the start of the year. But since then, unbeaten in Serie A. Now they're currently sitting in 5th for a Europa League spot. Only 5 points behind Juve. So they're still kind of scraping there with 5 points left to go. If Juve drop off at all, it could spell trouble if Roma gets after it. That said, I think Inter the better team. I still think that there's a conversation to be had about Edin Dzeko being handed over to Inter Milan to fill the boots of Romelu Lukaku, and I think he's done quite admirably given his age in particular. There may be some grief there. Dzeko used to be the captain of Roma, and the fact that they kind of just discarded him. I mean, as a player, and when you get discarded by one team, you definitely want to stick it to him when you had a chance to make that happen. But Tammy Abraham and Roma have been in good form. Zaniolo's starting to really peak at the right time for them to potentially push into the top four. This is a great match. I think that Inter probably have a little bit too much, all things considered. But I wouldn't put it past Mourinho, given the form of Roma, to maybe scrape out a draw. I don't see Roma winning this one, but I could see a draw. How about you, JJ?
Yeah, I think Inter absolutely have to avoid defeat in this one. And for me, and I know I risk sounding like a broken record every time we speak about Serie A recently, but in that title race, it's all going to play on that game in hand that Inter have. I feel that's sort of their trump card really in this title race. And until every team has played the same amount of games, we're not really going to know how this title race is going to shape up. But it's not necessarily in that game in hand, where things will be won and lost if they do drop points against some of the more difficult opponents. And Roma, sort of coming into, the resurgence that they've enjoyed over these last couple of months, suddenly this game is a lot more difficult than it would have looked sort of a couple of weeks or months ago. So Inter, I think they absolutely cannot lose this. And Roma, will be one of their sterner tests between now and the end of the season. But I agree with Jimmy. I think that Inter maybe just have a little too much for Roma, but that doesn't mean, that they're not going to be made to work hard, for anything that they take away from this game. And like I said, I don't think a point would be the worst result, because it's not only them who's going to face, challenges between now and the end of the season. Every team gunning for that title, has tough fixtures coming up.
From one part of Rome to the other, let's shift to the other match, Lazio versus Milan. Milan not looking like the same team that beat this Inter side in a marquee matchup earlier this year. And Lazio, kind of you could say the same thing about them, really scraping at the heels of Roma. What do you guys see in this matchup? I think this game is going to be just as compelling as the previous game we talked about.
Well, I'll say that Lazio under Maurizio Sarri have shown glimpses of what they're capable of. You've seen some incredible performances from them, especially early on in the season with Ciro the Hero Immobile. Shout out to Ciro the Hero. And Milinkovic-Savic, who's now being linked to Manchester United to potentially fill in the spot of Paul Pogba if he leaves to go somewhere else. So they've got the quality. For me, it was always that back line. And I think that's been, I don't say Everton-esque. It hasn't been that bad, but they do bleed a lot of goals. And I think Milan could take advantage of it. Rafael Leao in particular, excellent player. Now, Lazio have played 33 games, and they're on 56 points for that last Europa League spot. Fiorentina are also on 56 points. Shout out to Vincenzo Italiano, the manager, who's done an excellent job, especially after losing Vlahovic, to keep that ship floating in the right direction or steered in the right direction. And they have a game in hand as well, similar to Inter. So you have this opportunity for Fiorentina, if Lazio continue to drop points, to maybe sneak into that last Europa League spot, which is of interest. And I think that puts a little pressure on Lazio to show up and do something, very similar to what we were talking about with Burnley and Everton. you have a little bit of somebody on your back ready to go. This Milan team, maybe not the best away from home, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, they're tied with Napoli, the best away team in the league. So I'll take that one back. They have 11 wins, 4 draws, and 1 loss away from home. Maybe they feel a little bit better playing away from home and then playing in the San Siro. Maybe the pressure of the home fans can get to teams at times. If you're not, I don't know. I feel like I'm making stuff up at this point. But this Milan team, it has the quality. I just was a little disappointed in how they played against Inter Milan in midweek in the Coppa Italia semifinals, losing 3-0. I just thought they weren't as sharp as they needed to be to have a chance. I mean, they're 90 minutes away from going to get a trophy or have a chance to win a trophy. And I just thought they threw up a lemon of a performance. Now, Lautaro Martinez was excellent and his movement was great. And Inter just seemed like they were making the plays that mattered. But we'll see how Milan responds. I think that Stefano Pioli, actually the manager of Milan, is better when they're playing against the bigger teams, but they didn't do that midweek, and they sometimes struggle with the teams that they should beat, and they should beat this one, and I wonder how this one's going to play out. So I'm almost curious about how this goes. I think Milan, knowing that they want to stay at the top, have to win, but sometimes when they know they have to win, it's when they struggle.
Yeah, there's a couple of really good points from Jimmy. Not often that we say that, but here we are.
AJ, coming hot, man. Good morning.
I love it.
Genuinely, very interesting take on Milan, because I feel like at various times this season, and even the season before, we've seen Milan actually be better sort of as a chasing team. They almost don't fare better once they're actually at the top of the pile.
Good point.
I like Jimmy, I was really disappointed with that performance in the semi-final second leg against Inter. It's strange that they could keep the first leg so tight at 0-0, still have a very strong team out, and then get blown away 3-0. I mean, I know that a lot of people will say, but if Benessa's goal wasn't ruled out late on, still it was quite a pasting, all things considered. So for me, I feel like this Milan side, it's part of history repeating itself again, where they're wobbling once they look like, they've got one hand on the title. So although, it wasn't as clear as it was last season, I do feel like this Milan side, they almost need to experience some adversity, to have their backs against the wall. And I wonder if they're actually going to wait for the situation to get a little tougher, before they start to pick up. And I could see them dropping points here against a tough Lazio side.